Join me as I take on the challenge of ranking the top 50 horror films ever made, from the ones that gave me nightmares to the true classics. Horror is more than just a genre, it's an experience that taps into our deepest fears, exploring the darkest corners of human psychology. Over the years, horror has evolved, adapting to new trends and technologies, yet remaining a constant presence in our collective psyche. The question is, what makes a horror film truly stand out? Is it the jump scares, the atmosphere, or something more? As we delve into the top 50 horror films of all time, we'll be exploring the most iconic, influential, and terrifying movies that have left an indelible mark on the genre. From haunted houses to demonic possessions, we'll be counting down the films that have redefined horror and continue to frighten audiences to this day. And, of course, we'll be discussing why these films matter, what makes them so effective, and why they're essential viewing for horror fans. The task of ranking these films is no easy feat, as opinions on horror are as diverse as the fears that drive them. But, after careful consideration, meticulous research, and a healthy dose of fear, I've compiled a list that I believe does justice to the genre. So, buckle up, horror enthusiasts, as we embark on this journey through the top 50 horror films of all time. Ranking horror films is a daunting task, considering the wealth of options available. You have your classic slashers, your supernatural thrillers, and your psychological masterpieces, each with its own unique strengths and weaknesses. To make this list, I had to consider a multitude of factors, from cultural impact to innovation, audience reception, and, of course, sheer terror. One of the biggest challenges in ranking horror films is weighing the importance of each factor. Do you prioritize films that have had a significant impact on the genre, or do you focus on those that have continued to terrify audiences decade after decade? How do you balance the influence of a film like The Exorcist against the raw, unadulterated fear of a more modern film like Hereditary? Ultimately, the goal is to create a list that's both a love letter to the genre and a thoughtful examination of what makes these films so effective. It's not just about scaring the audience, it's about crafting a mood, a tone, and an atmosphere that lingers long after the credits roll. In compiling this list, I've drawn upon a deep well of horror knowledge, from the classics to the contemporaries, and everything in between. I've considered the pioneers of horror, like Alfred Hitchcock and John Carpenter, as well as modern masters, like Jordan Peele and Ari Aster. From the atmospheric chillers of the 1960s to the blood-soaked excess of the 1980s, each era has its own unique voice, its own distinct style. And yet, despite these differences, there's a common thread that runs throughout, a thread of fear, of unease, of the unknown. So, as we embark on this journey through the top 50 horror films of all time, remember that it's not just about the rankings, it's about exploring the very fabric of the genre, and what makes it so compelling, so captivating, and so terrifying. Let's start our journey through the top 50 horror films, from the eerie atmosphere of The Babadook to the mind-bending terror of the #1 film. No, I'm not going to ruin the surprise. We'll explore the cultural significance of films like Night of the Living Dead and Halloween, as well as the more modern classics, like Get Out and A Quiet Place. In the first segment, we have films that have had a significant impact on the genre, but may not be as well known outside of horror circles. These are the hidden gems, the cult classics, and the films that have paved the way for the modern horror renaissance. Next, we have films that have redefined the genre, pushing the boundaries of what's acceptable, and challenging our perceptions of horror. These are the game changers, the ones that have inspired a new generation of horror filmmakers. As we move further up the list, we'll be exploring the films that have left an indelible mark on popular culture, from The Exorcist to The Conjuring. These are the films that have transcended the genre, becoming a part of our collective consciousness. Finally, we have the top 3 films, the ones that embody the very essence of horror. These are the films that have stood the test of time, continuing to terrify audiences decade after decade. Coming in at number 3, we have a film that has redefined the concept of horror, blending psychological terror with supernatural elements. This is a film that has, in my opinion, quickly become a cultural phenomenon, which will inspire countless imitators and influence a generation of horror filmmakers if it hasn't done so already. At number 2, we have a film that is widely regarded as one of the scariest movies ever made. With its eerie atmosphere, its unforgettable score, and its iconic villain, this film is a masterclass in horror, a testament to the power of the genre. And, finally, at number 1, we have a film that is not only a horror classic but a cultural touchstone. This is a film that has become synonymous with fear, a film that continues to terrify audiences to this day. As we conclude our journey through the top 50 horror films, remember that this is more than just a list. It's a celebration of the genre, a testament to its power, and its ability to captivate, to terrify, and to inspire. From the classics to the modern masters, horror is a genre that continues to evolve, to adapt, and to terrify. It's a genre that reminds us of our deepest fears, and yet, it's also a genre that brings us together, creating a sense of community among horror fans. If you agree or disagree with my rankings, I want to hear from you. Share your own top 50 horror films in the comments below, and don't forget to check out my other horror-related videos for more discussions on the genre we love. Starting from number 50 and working our way up to number 1. Each entry includes the film's title, year, and a brief description, with more elaboration for the top 10, and deeper analysis for the top 3. Let's dive into the list. 50. The Babadook. Director, Jennifer Kent. A psychological horror about a mother and her troubled son who are haunted by a sinister presence lurking in their home. Its exploration of grief and trauma adds a chilling depth to the eerie atmosphere. 49. The Autopsy of Jane Doe. Director, Andre Overdahl. A mysterious and unnerving tale of two coroners who begin to experience terrifying supernatural events as they perform an autopsy on an unidentified woman. 48. The Orphanage. Director, J.A. Bayona. This Spanish-language horror is a haunting ghost story about a woman who returns to her childhood home, now an orphanage, and must confront the malevolent forces that haunt it. 47. Sinister. Director, Scott Derrickson. A true crime writer discovers a box of disturbing home videos, plunging his family into a horrifying supernatural nightmare. The film's atmosphere is suffocating, and its villain, Bagul, is truly haunting. 46. It Follows. Director, David Robert Mitchell. A unique concept where a curse is passed through sexual encounters, causing an unstoppable entity to pursue its victim. The slow-burning dread and paranoia make it one of the most original modern horror films. 45. Paranormal Activity. Director, Oren Peli. This found-footage phenomenon taps into the fear of what happens while you sleep. With its minimalist approach, it became a global sensation and revived the found-footage subgenre. 44. The Witch. Director, Robert Eggers. Set in 1630s New England, a family living on the edge of the wilderness is torn apart by suspicion of witchcraft. Its unsettling atmosphere and attention to period detail make it a modern horror masterpiece. 43. Candyman. Director, Bernard Rose. A chilling urban legend about a hook-handed killer who can be summoned by saying his name 5 times in a mirror. This film deftly weaves social commentary into its scares. 42. The Ring. Director, Gore Verbinski. A cursed videotape kills anyone who watches it within 7 days. A remake of the Japanese horror Ringu, The Ring is atmospheric, eerie, and responsible for one of horror's most iconic scenes, Samara crawling out of the TV. 41. The Wailing. Director, Na Hong-jin. This South Korean film blends supernatural horror with detective drama, focusing on a mysterious illness spreading through a rural village. It's both chilling and emotionally devastating. 40. Insidious. Director, James Wan. A family moves into a new home, only to realize their son has become a vessel for malevolent spirits. Insidious is filled with terrifying jump scares and an ominous atmosphere. 39. The Others. Director, Alejandro Amenabar. A gothic ghost story set in post-World War II England, featuring a mother and her children who begin to suspect their home is haunted. The twist ending is unforgettable. 38. The Mist. Director, Frank Darabont. Based on Stephen King's novella, The Mist explores a small town besieged by terrifying creatures lurking in a supernatural mist. The bleak, shocking ending makes it a standout in the genre. 37. The Descent. Director, Neil Marshall. A group of women exploring an uncharted cave system becomes trapped and hunted by creatures lurking underground. The claustrophobia and creature design are the stuff of nightmares. 36. Hereditary. Director, Ari Aster. A slow-burning family tragedy that evolves into supernatural terror, Hereditary explores grief, trauma, and possession with chilling precision. Toni Collette's performance is unforgettable. 35. The Blair Witch Project. Directors, Daniel Myrick, Eduardo Sanchez. This found footage classic follows three filmmakers lost in the woods while documenting a local legend. Its minimalist approach and sense of realism revolutionized the genre. 34. The Cabin in the Woods. Director, Drew Goddard. A clever deconstruction of horror tropes, this film blends classic slasher setups with an overarching meta-narrative about the nature of fear itself. 33. Poltergeist. Director, Tobe Hooper. A suburban family is haunted by malevolent spirits after their home is built over a cemetery. Poltergeist mixes traditional haunted house scares with groundbreaking special effects. 32. Carrie. Director, Brian De Palma. Stephen King's story of a bullied girl with telekinetic powers culminates in one of the most iconic prom scenes in film history. Carrie is both heartbreaking and terrifying. 31. A Quiet Place. Director, John Krasinski. In a world where alien creatures hunt by sound, a family must remain completely silent to survive. A Quiet Place is an exercise in tension, with minimal dialogue and maximum dread. 30. Suspiria. Director, Dario Argento. A ballet student discovers that her school is run by a coven of witches. Known for its vivid colors and haunting score, Suspiria is a masterpiece of Italian horror. 29. Reanimator. Director, Stuart Gordon. A grotesque and darkly humorous take on Frankenstein, Reanimator follows a mad scientist who discovers a serum that brings the dead back to life, with horrifying consequences. 28. An American Werewolf in London. Director, John Landis. Blending horror and comedy, this film follows two American tourists attacked by a werewolf. The transformation sequence is still regarded as one of the best in horror history. 27. Let the Right One In. Director, Thomas Alfredson. A Swedish vampire film about the unlikely friendship between a young boy and a vampire child. Let the Right One In is as poignant as it is terrifying. 26. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Director, Tobe Hooper. A group of friends encounters a family of cannibals in rural Texas. The gritty, documentary-like style of the film makes its violence feel disturbingly real. 25. The Conjuring. Director, James Wan. Based on the real-life cases of paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren, The Conjuring delivers spine-chilling scares and introduces the world to the Conjuring universe. 24. The Haunting. Director, Robert Wise. An atmospheric ghost story about a paranormal investigation in a mansion with a dark history. Its use of subtle scares and psychological tension makes it a classic. 23. The Fly. Director, David Cronenberg. A brilliant scientist's experiment with teleportation goes horribly wrong when he begins transforming into a grotesque human-fly hybrid. This body horror classic is as tragic as it is disturbing. 22. 28 Days Later. Director, Danny Boyle. A viral outbreak leaves Britain in ruins as survivors navigate a world overrun by rage-infected humans. This fast-paced reimagining of the zombie genre is a landmark in modern horror. 21. Rosemary's Baby. Director, Roman Polanski. A young woman suspects sinister forces are at work when she becomes pregnant. The slow burn tension and creeping paranoia make it a seminal psychological horror film. 20. Jaws. Director, Steven Spielberg. While more thriller than pure horror, Jaws made audiences terrified of the water. The relentless, unseen shark and John Williams' iconic score are still the stuff of nightmares. 19. Scream. Director, Wes Craven. A meta-slasher that reinvigorated the genre by cleverly deconstructing horror movie tropes. Ghostface's mask is now an iconic symbol of horror. 18. Dawn of the Dead. Director, George A. Romero. A group of survivors takes refuge in a shopping mall during a zombie apocalypse. Romero uses the undead as a vehicle for social commentary, making this both terrifying and thought-provoking. 17. A Nightmare on Elm Street. Director, Wes Craven. Freddy Krueger, the burned killer who attacks teens in their dreams, became one of the most iconic horror villains. The concept of nightmares bleeding into reality remains terrifying. 16. Halloween. Director, John Carpenter. Michael Myers' silent, relentless pursuit of babysitters in Haddonfield, Illinois, is a masterclass in suspense. Carpenter's simple yet chilling score adds to the film's enduring legacy. 15. Night of the Living Dead. Director, George A. Romero. The film that started the modern zombie genre. Night of the Living Dead shocked audiences with its grim depiction of a world overrun by the undead, while subtly addressing social issues. 14. The Exorcism of Emily Rose. Director, Scott Derrickson. A harrowing blend of courtroom drama and supernatural horror, based on the true story of a possessed young woman. The film's mixture of religion, law, and horror creates a unique atmosphere of dread. 13. The Omen. Director, Richard Donner. A chilling tale of a child born with the mark of the Antichrist, The Omen is a slow-burn film that builds to a terrifying climax, featuring one of the most chilling soundtracks in horror history. 12. The Invisible Man. Director, Lee Winnell. A modern update to the classic story, this film focuses on domestic abuse and psychological manipulation as a woman is tormented by her invisible ex. The tension is palpable, and the scares are inventive. 11. Midsummer. Director, Ari Aster. Set in broad daylight, this folk horror film is about a group of friends who attend a seemingly idyllic festival in Sweden, only to uncover a terrifying pagan cult. Its bright, sunny aesthetic contrasts with the horrific events, creating an unsettling experience. 10. Psycho. Director, Alfred Hitchcock. Hitchcock's psychological horror is iconic for its shocking twists and its infamous shower scene. Norman Bates, the soft-spoken motel owner with a dark secret, remains one of cinema's most chilling characters. Fun fact, Psycho was one of the first films to show a toilet flushing, considered taboo at the time. 9. Get Out. Director, Jordan Peele. A brilliant social thriller about race, Get Out combines psychological horror with biting social commentary. It tackles the horrors of systemic racism, with moments that are as thought-provoking as they are terrifying. Peele's debut directorial effort earned him an Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay. 8. The Shining. Director, Stanley Kubrick. Kubrick's adaptation of Stephen King's novel is a slow-burning psychological horror set in an isolated hotel. Jack Nicholson's performance as Jack Torrance is unforgettable, and the film's iconic scenes, such as the bloody elevator and Here's Johnny, have become etched in pop culture history. The ambiguous ending keeps viewers debating its meaning to this day. 7. Alien. Director, Ridley Scott. A masterpiece of sci-fi horror, Alien introduces audiences to the terrifying xenomorph and the claustrophobic horrors of space. Sigourney Weaver's portrayal of Ripley became iconic, and the film's tension, coupled with H.R. Giger's nightmarish creature design, has left an indelible mark on both horror and sci-fi genres. 6. The Thing. Director, John Carpenter. Set in the desolate, icy landscape of Antarctica, a group of scientists faces off against a shape-shifting alien that can imitate any living being. Carpenter's film is a masterclass in paranoia and body horror, with groundbreaking practical effects that still hold up today. The final scene leaves the audience with an unsettling sense of ambiguity. 5. The Silence of the Lambs. Director, Jonathan Demme. A psychological thriller with horror elements, this film introduced the world to Hannibal Lecter, one of cinema's most iconic villains. The intense psychological interplay between Lecter and FBI agent Clarice Starling is chilling, and the film's exploration of the mind of a serial killer remains unmatched. 4. The Exorcist. Director, William Friedkin. A terrifying exploration of demonic possession, The Exorcist became a cultural phenomenon upon release, shocking audiences with its visceral depiction of evil. The film's most iconic scenes, Regan's head spinning, the levitating bed, and the projectile vomiting, have become horror legends. The eerie score, combined with the performances, creates an atmosphere of pure dread. And now for the top 3 horror films of all time. 3. Hereditary. Director, Ari Aster. This modern horror masterpiece delves deep into family trauma and the legacy of grief. Hereditary begins as a somber drama about loss but slowly builds into a terrifying supernatural nightmare. The most iconic scene, where Toni Collette's character, Annie, discovers the headless body of her daughter, shocked audiences worldwide. The film's slow descent into horror, coupled with unsettling imagery like Annie's levitating body, has cemented Hereditary as a modern classic. 2. Halloween. Director, John Carpenter. The ultimate slasher film, Halloween introduced the world to Michael Myers, the masked killer who stalks babysitters on Halloween night. Carpenter's direction and eerie score heighten the suspense, while the film's minimalist approach, focusing more on tension than gore, makes it a masterclass in fear. The final chase scene, with Laurie Strode desperately fleeing from Myers, is one of the most iconic in horror history. Halloween essentially birthed the slasher genre and remains its gold standard. 1. The Shining. Director, Stanley Kubrick. At number 1, The Shining stands tall as the quintessential horror film. Kubrick's adaptation of Stephen King's novel blends psychological horror with supernatural elements, creating an eerie, surreal atmosphere that slowly drives both the characters and the audience to madness. Jack Nicholson's portrayal of Jack Torrance, a man slowly losing his mind in the haunted Overlook Hotel, is unforgettable. The film is filled with iconic moments, the twins in the hallway, the blood pouring from the elevators, and, of course, Torrance's slow descent into insanity, culminating in the terrifying "Here's Johnny" scene. Kubrick's use of long, unsettling shots, combined with the haunting score, makes The Shining not just a horror film, but a haunting experience that lingers long after the credits roll. And there you have it, the top 50 horror films of all time. Each film on this list has left its mark on the genre, whether through innovation, influence, or sheer terror. Horror is an ever-evolving genre, and these films are a testament to its enduring power. Now I know not all of you will agree with my choices, and yes, I have left out a number of goodies and included a few curveballs, but now it's your chance, so don't forget to share your thoughts and your own top rankings in the comments below. I'm expecting a heated debate. By the way, who has spotted the mistake? Silly me.